Amy Gordon, and the district investigator. My dad finally got home from his business trip that night, and when he saw all the missed calls and messages, he just broke down completely. He kept saying he should have been there, and how Mom would never forgive him for missing her last moments, but I told him it wasn't his fault because nobody expected it to happen so fast. We sat at the kitchen table going through all the emails and documents, and he got really quiet when he read the part about Miss Vexler saying Mom got her written up last month. He told me that Mom had reported Miss Vexler for making a special needs kid stand in the corner for an hour as punishment, and the principal had dismissed it as a misunderstanding. Now that made sense why Miss Vexler had been so cruel about everything, because she wanted revenge on our family. After school the next day, I was walking to my car when this woman with a press badge came up to me in the parking lot. She said her name was Zelda Vasquez, and she'd been looking into teachers who abused their power for months now. She showed me a folder full of articles she'd written about other cases, and asked if I'd be willing to share my story. I told her I needed to think about it because everything was still too raw, and I didn't know if I was ready to go public yet. She gave me her card and said she'd wait for my call whenever I was ready. Walking back into school, I saw Ashley coming out of the principal's office, and she looked like she'd been crying. She told me they were threatening to put academic dishonesty on her permanent record, even though she admitted right away that her confession was fake. The principal said it didn't matter that she was trying to help me because she still disrupted a state exam and made false claims about hacking school computers. My stomach twisted knowing she was getting punished for trying to save me from missing my mom's last moments. That evening, I was sitting at home when my phone rang, and it was Leander Washington calling about Anthony. He said the school had contacted him about Anthony leaving during the exam, and now they were marking it as truancy on his record. He was trying to be supportive, but I could hear the worry in his voice about how this might affect Anthony's foster placement. Mom had worked so hard to keep Anthony in a stable home, and now that was at risk because he stood up for me. The next morning, a package arrived from the hospice with all their call logs and the nurses' notes from that day. Every single call they made to the school was documented with exact times and what they said each time. The notes showed how many times they tried to reach me and how urgent they said it was. I spent an hour making copies of everything while Isabella scanned it all to create digital backups on 3 different drives. Later that day, Officer Webb came to review the school security footage with me in the main office. We watched the footage from that morning, and you could see Miss Vexler typing on the shelter mode keypad right after the principal's announcement played over the intercom. The timestamp showed she activated it exactly 17 seconds after being told to send me to the office for emergency pickup. Even Webb looked uncomfortable watching it, and he kept shaking his head while taking notes. The next day at the school, I saw a woman in a suit walking Ellie to the counselor's office and found out later she was from CPS. Amy told me after lunch that they'd found evidence of serious problems at Ellie's home and were opening a full investigation. Mom had been right to worry about her all those times she noticed the bruises, and now I wished she was here to help Ellie through this. 2 days later, I got called to the district office for an interview with Yvette Mendoza from the school board. The interview felt more like being interrogated about the exam than about what Miss Vexler did to me. She kept asking if anyone had their phones out during the test and whether the exam papers were secure the whole time. She wanted to know if anyone could have taken pictures of the questions or shared answers while everything was happening. I realized sitting there that the district cared more about their test scores and exam security than they did about a kid missing his dying mother. When I pulled up my Apple Watch to show Mendoza the data from that morning, she finally paid attention. The watch had recorded every heart monitor alert from Mom's medical devices during those 30 minutes. You could see her heart rate dropping minute by minute while I was trapped in that classroom. Having to use my mom's dying heartbeat as evidence made me feel sick, but I showed her anyway. Mendoza took photos of the watch screen, but her face stayed blank like she was looking at